The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
1420 Sports Bar Podcast. For beer, the sports talk, and a whole lot more. Join host Brent Radlinski as he bellies up to the bar and gets the conversations going that'll make you think you're sitting in your local watering room. It's sports, beer, and shenanigans. So sit back, grab a few beers, and let's get into it. The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for beer, sports talk, and a whole lot more. Today's show is, as always, brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420SEAT over there at SeatGeek and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. Today, we are joined by Scott Belford, the host of the Walk Off Podcast, one of the best Blue Jays podcasts there is out there. Everything you need to know about Canada's team. How you doing, Scott?
Very well, Brent. Thank you so much for having me. And boy, oh boy, what a time to talk Blue Jays. You got me at the right time.
I tell you what, that was going to be my first question for you, no matter what. How much fun is this with this team, the way they're rolling? They got 77 wins so far, surpassed their win total of last year. How much fun is it to be a Blue Jays fan out there in Toronto right now?
It is just incredible. I mean, the city is abuzz, and let's be serious. Canada's team is the Blue Jays, and this country is just more fun when they're winning, and boy, are they ever winning. It's been a really, really great season, and like you touched on, they're already have surpassed last year's win total. A couple of the players that were just absolute duds last year in George Springer and Bichette have had complete renaissance returns to form, if you will, and have been the leaders of this team moving forward. It's been just a really, really fun season.
You know, if you would have told me that Bichette would have been one of the go-to guys for this Jays team when the season first started, and it's been a surprise. Like, there was actually get rid of him, get something for the assets. It's time to go. The contract's going to be too big. Whatever you want to be, there was everybody saying time for Bo to go, and then just like you said, he's been the guy that's a big part of this turnaround for sure.
Well, you look at their numbers even from last year. I mean, George Springer was another guy that if you were to ask me at the beginning of the season what I expected out of him, I would have said more of the same. What we saw out of him in 2024, which was an aging asset that just didn't really have it anymore. But between Bichette and George Springer, so Brent, these are their numbers from 2024. Combined, they hit 220 for their batting average. They had 190 hits. They had 23 home runs, and they had 87 RBIs. That is combined, and that is all 162 games of 2024. You look at their 2025 numbers, they're almost doubling them. They've got a 300 batting average between the two of them, 277 hits, 38 home runs, 150 RBIs. I mean, the offensive engine of this Toronto Blue Jays is Bo and George right now. And I mean, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., getting locked up in April. Talk about what a turnaround. You know, you kind of saw the strip down of the Minnesota Twins at the trade deadline. And it's really interesting to think as a Blue Jays fan, that was our trajectory, right? Like before this team signed Vladimir Guerrero Jr. long-term, before we saw the turnarounds of Bo and George, the emergence of some of these underlying guys like Nathan Lucas and Ernie Clement, I mean, there was no reason to believe that this team wouldn't be sellers and wouldn't be in the midst of a rebuild right now. And here we are, half a game back of the Tigers for the top spot in the American League and true World Series contenders. It's amazing what a few months can do.
It's crazy because you're probably with me at this point last year, like, oh, looking ahead to this year. And then you get into the beginning of the season, you got to go, oh, no, this isn't going to be very good. You're thinking if they don't get something rolling here, there's going to be a managerial change because Schneider was hanging by the short and curlies no matter what. And it was just basically this, they're going to dismantle this team. They gave Vladdy a bunch of money and then things changed. It's crazy. And then you say they're only a half a game out of the American League champion division or American League lead. Yeah. And why not us mentality? It's got to be that with this Toronto Blue Jays team. And then to have management go all in, and like hindsight's 2020, smartest guys in the room going out and getting, don't call me Justin, Shane Bieber. Why not? Like, why not the Blue Jays? Like, what? Like, this has 2015 vibes written all over it.
I couldn't agree more. And there's no reason when you look at the landscape of the 2025 American League that the Blue Jays can't be the big dogs coming out of that league. This is the most wide open the AL has been in more than half a decade. Like, there really is an opportunity here for the Blue Jays to make hay. And I think, like you said, that there is that sort of why not us? That next man up mentality. When someone goes down, we've been seeing it all season long, right? I mean, how often do you watch your big star home run hitter, a guy in Anthony Santander, that they went out and signed to a 5-year deal, $100 million, get injured, go down, call up a guy from AAA and Addison Barger and him step in and literally be everything they were hoping Santander would be? These are stories you don't see in baseball, and I think there's a little magic in the air, a little pixie dust on this 2025 Jays team.
You know, you go back to Michael Kay's comments, the great Yankee broadcaster, Michael Kay there, Scott. I know you're disdain for the Yankees. We'll get into that in a little bit, but he said he was taken a little out of context, how they're not a first place team, even though the stats say that they aren't. But what he was getting at is you don't have there wasn't going to be a 30 home run guy. There wasn't going to be a bunch of guys that did this and that, and you can't. And just the way the pitching staff wasn't really, you didn't know what you're getting, and just the guys that were injured, and then how they ended up in first place. The one thing I like about this Jays team is they're kind of doing it by committee with a bunch of guys not having 30, 35 home runs, but you got a bunch of guys that are floating around that 300 batting average. And I'm old school enough where batting average used to matter a lot. And this is kind of proving my point that batting average matters, getting on base, getting base knocks, moving guys around, doing some proper things. They're playing some good old-fashioned baseball. And that's one of the things I love about watching this team.
No, truly. And I mean, I think you're really hitting on something here. And much like most professional leagues, it's a copycat league. And what the Toronto Blue Jays and the Milwaukee Brewers in the National League are doing right now, we could be seeing a shift in the baseball landscape, and it's being headed by our Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, you don't see teams go by the contact first approach like the Toronto Blue Jays have been doing. And that's kind of been their MO all season, is put the ball in play, make these defenses make the play, make these opponents get the job done. And they haven't been. And when you have that, relentless is the word I always think of when I watch this team, because that's exactly what they are. Once they kind of get that crack in the veneer, they get that crowbar in there, and it's go, go, go. And, you know, they run into tough pitching all the time. We saw it yesterday, a great approach against Joe Ryan where they got to him early. We saw it earlier in July when they were playing the Tigers and they were up against Tarek Skubal. And Kevin Gausman and him just went at it head to head for 7 innings. And then once they got into the Tigers bullpen, they got that little crack and away they go. The hits start coming, and they're always prepared to take the extra 90 feet. For a team that doesn't steal a lot of bases, Brent, it sure is impressive how often they take that extra 90 feet, right? They go first to third. They go second to home. They're prepared to push their opponent's defense to get the job done.
If you try to make the other team make mistakes and you keep forcing that, they will. That's what human beings do. That's just how humans are. They screw up things on the opportunity after opportunity, and that's what the Jays are doing. One guy that doesn't get a lot of acknowledgement, a lot of credit outside of Toronto, and it's too bad because he's a dynamic player and he's a lot of fun to watch. And speaking of stolen base, he got his first career one last week. The old Tijuana Titan, Alejandro Kirk. He just fun to watch, fun guy to kind of bolster the team, and they can get behind a guy like that. And he's just been a pleasure to watch for sure.
I mean, he's been one of the reasons this team has turned around, in all honesty. We're seeing the Alejandro Kirk we saw in 2022, Silver Slugger. I mean, if it wasn't for Cal Raleigh hitting 50 dingers in Seattle and having that platinum glove, I think he'd be arguably the best catcher in the American League. Of course, with Cal Raleigh, Big Dumper, doing what he's doing, he's playing second fiddle. But I mean, definitely a cog in the machine that is making the Blue Jays a contending team is Alejandro Kirk. And I mean, what's beautiful too, and we touched on Shane Bieber a little bit right off the top there, right? That they went out and got their man at the trade deadline. But even what he mentioned in his post-game press conference after his first debut with the Blue Jays there on Friday, he made a point of saying Alejandro Kirk by name and how comfortable he was with Kirky behind the plate and how he fell into a rhythm with him so quickly. Something that's really difficult to do for a pitcher coming off of the IL. He hadn't pitched since April 7th of 2024. And to have a guy, a backstop that you can rely on, that you feel comfortable throwing those balls in the dirt, that you can kind of, use to get in that rhythm, it's priceless. And Alejandro has kind of been that guy for this entire staff.
The pitching staff, like you mentioned there, you look at that and you go, okay, this staff is really good in 2019, right? Like if the numbers and just who's out there, okay, and then they're kind of out there just like, are you do you have some trepidation a little bit because these guys are getting a little long in the tooth? Well, you elaborate on that, but like you go, okay, this is 5 years ago, man, oh man, this is the cream of the crop. This is what we wanted, but they seem to be going pretty well, and everything's kind of coming up roses for the Toronto Blue Jays, no matter who they throw out there.
I mean, I'm kind of loving the wily old vet of the whole starting rotation. It's just watching Max Scherzer and Chris Bassett and Kevin Gausman just out there doing what they do in a situation where you could argue, like you said, that they're past their prime, but they're getting it done. Max Scherzer, honestly, the fountain of youth that he is found, let me know where it is. It is so impressive what this old man is doing at 41 years old, coming off an injury with his thumb that just the Blue Jays fan base had started to think
I thought it
wasn't going to happen, right?
Yeah, I thought he was done.
I thought he was done too, Brent. And now you look at what he's doing, and it's just like, he's my game one playoff starter. I mean, you can't ask for more. You can't ask for a guy with a better track record. The guy's still hitting 96. I mean, he's 41 years old, and he's still throwing gas. And the wiliness of him is just, it's unparalleled. It's a very exciting time to be a Blue Jays fan. As long as this bullpen can somewhat get it together, I think they can really make a run.
The thing with Scherzer, he goes out there, he's got his dusty old hat on. He can probably they're allowed to get a new one every night, and he doesn't care. He goes out there, sweaty old lid on, and just that grin, like you're not going to get the best of me tonight. And it's just he's got a great aura about him, and it exudes that confidence that the rest of the team has. And you get guys rolling, and in sports, especially baseball, guys don't lose their skill level. Like they get older, they do, but like throughout the season, you don't get worse. You lose that space in between the 7 3/8 between your ears, and that's when things go really sideways. But just the confidence level that this team's playing with, and you look at you go, I'll always call it Sky Dome. But when playing in front of 45,000 a night and the place is packed and everybody's having a good time, and like you said earlier, right across the country, people are watching. When you got that kind of momentum going behind you, that's got to be something special. You think, we should carry this on, because even as a Yankees fan, and I've always said this, when the Blue Jays are relevant in Canada and doing well, more people watch baseball, more people have fun with it. And I don't mind bandwagon jumpers to come in and watch baseball for the last 2 months of the season. Come on and have a good time and watch how great this game actually is. And then people just get going, like in 2015 when you didn't think that team was going to lose another game in mid-July, and that's exactly the way that this team is right now, and they're rolling. Like it's fun to watch, and it's too bad that, not too bad, but because the big 4-letter word network down there, they don't cover baseball a whole bunch. That people aren't getting how great this whole thing is. In Canada, it's great how people are watching it and doing podcasts and everything else, but if more people to see how good this team actually is, it would be scary to see.
I agree. And it is something that you kind of touched on off the top there about how this is up and down the roster is contributing. Guys that you normally wouldn't get much out of are truly a big part of the puzzle here when it comes to the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, this is old school baseball being played right. And it's so fun to watch because it's been so long since you've seen a team that is concentrating on getting their hits, concentrating on putting the ball in play, concentrating on taking the extra 90 feet, concentrating on seeing more pitches, getting deep into counts, seeing the bullpen in an earlier way. I mean, last night, this is a little stat that kind of blew me away, but is a perfect representation of what this team does. Nathan Lucas, who was hitting in the in the 2-hole yesterday, but he hits everywhere. And he normally is a guy you see at the bottom of the lineup. He saw 32 pitches last night in his 4 plate appearances. Like, that is an insane amount of pitches to force a guy to throw. Yeah. 32 in a game by one guy. Like, this is what this lineup does. And if you are a fan of old school baseball and maybe you have fallen out of love with the game a little bit, I would say check out these Toronto Blue Jays and give it another chance, because they kind of are a throwback here.
Do you think that if this works, and who knows, like you said earlier, baseball's such a copycat league, and they're like, well, this works, let's have every team try the same thing next year, and every team, okay, we got to do it this way.
Yeah.
You still need some talent, no matter what. You still need talent, like the Oakland, Sacramento, whatever. Like they're doing okay, better than people have expected, but a little bit of everything. Like if you can combine some, because numbers don't lie. Until they do, numbers don't lie till they do, and then that's but if you can combine all the stuff and have some talent, and have some work ethic, like you watch that the Yankees Red Sox series over the weekend, and they were the Red Sox doing the exact same thing, putting the ball in play and running like a bastard down first base and make them make mistakes, and they did a lot.
The secret's out on the Yankees, which is they are awful defensively. And I mean, the Dodgers really shone a light on it last year in the World Series. And I know the Blue Jays took advantage of it in their series. I mean, the Yankees are 3-7 against the Blue Jays. They're 2-8 against the Red Sox, which is one of the reasons why they're not leading the division. They're not beating these top division teams. And I mean, the Yankees make short work of a lot of other teams because they're so power heavy. They're playing the style of baseball we watched and have grown accustomed to over the last decade or two, where it's all home runs, strikeouts, and walks. But against these teams that are putting the ball in play, because for a long time, and Brent, I think you can agree with this, is that baseball has gone away from caring how good you are defensively as long as you can hit. Yeah. And I think that this is starting to bite the Yankees in the butt a little bit. Playing natural first baseman at third, playing a guy who should be playing second base at short, playing these guys out of position or maybe out of their skill set. And when they're playing these really good other opponents that put the ball in play, it is becoming a real shortcoming in their game. And I mean, I am still fearful of the Yankees. I'm not talking down to the Yankees, but they're definitely not the juggernaut that maybe I thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season.
I don't care how great you are. If you strike out, you won't get on base. Like or you won't score a run. Sorry, you won't. I don't care if you don't at least put bat to ball. You will not score a run. And the whole purpose of the game is to score runs, and they just don't do it enough. Yeah, they can swing a guy, like they get 3-4 home runs last night against the Nationals. Big deal. They play it, and with the Yankees, I didn't want to get into this, but it's I'm sure you're look how much you're smiling here when the Yankees are struggling, but it's
I'm sorry, Brent.
No, like when your record is what it is against the guys that are ahead of you, that's who you are. Mm-hmm. And it's actually that simple. That's just who you are. You can't beat anybody above you. You beat up on the lesser runs, and that's it. And that's why the Jays they're beating everybody. Is there a comparison? Is this, you talk about these guys, and they added you go back to 2015 when the Anthopoulos made a bunch of changes, and that added Price and Tulowitzki and on that went. Is there a comparison between this 2015 team or the 2015 team and this 2025 team?
I mean, the short answer is no. If you're just going on the way this team has been built. So in 2015, Josh Donaldson, who won the MVP, hit 42 home runs. Jose Bautista had 44 home runs. Edwin Encarnacion had 39. This was their 2, 3, 4 hole hitters. Right now, this Toronto Blue Jays team, top home run hitter is George Springer, who has 19. Like they get their home runs. I'm not saying that they're defunct in power. And in fact, you've seen Dalton Varsho hit 15 in the 40 games he has played. So they've got power bats in that lineup, but they're definitely not reliant on the home run quite like that 2015 team was. Now, what I will say is similar is that there is some magic in the air around these teams, right? So in 2025, this is a team that was supposed to be a fringe 500 team with the possibility of a rebuild looming over the fan base. In 2015, it was sort of similar. I mean, they were 50 and 52 at the trade deadline when Anthopoulos went out and got David Price and Troy Tulowitzki, and then they had that magical run. So done very differently, but the same sort of magic and excitement is in the air amongst the fan base. But if you're just comparing team to team, very, very little is similar.
What do you think made Atkins and company decide to stick with it? I mean, was it you're winning, so that doesn't hurt. But was it just the realization that the American League, just like you said earlier, just isn't that great, and there's nobody that's really running away with things? You have some teams that are still good, but is anybody ever going to be afraid of the Detroit Tigers? Probably not. Is anybody afraid of Houston? Yeah, they're still good, but is it just like it's so wide open that they say, you know what, let's stick with it, see what we got, because we're kind of committed to now that we're committed to Vladdy, and now do we just stick with it and see what can happen?
I mean, I hate to say it, but you almost really need to give this front office a lot of credit for,
because they were ready to hang them in Blue Jays.
I mean, I was calling for their heads, Brent, at the beginning of the season. I was saying, why are we allowing this front office, who has not delivered a playoff win, to give us a 10th year? Like, what is the ownership doing? What is the game plan? We don't have Vladdy locked up. We don't have Bo locked up. They were coming off a 76-win season. I was just like, how much rope are we going to give these guys? But you know what? I will give them credit. They stuck with it when everyone else didn't have the guts to. They brought in a new hitting coach in David Popkins and changed their hitting strategy a little. They sat down with their veterans in the clubhouse and had a real candid talk about how they viewed things were being done. And they shifted more towards communication with the players and trying to keep everyone happy, but also stay analytically in that plane they wanted to be in. And despite the fact that in April I was saying it was a mistake, here we are coming up on September, and this is, I would say, the best team in the American League. I know they're half a game back of the Tigers, so we'll give Detroit a little credit here, but also, if you just look at how much better this American League East is than the American League Central, I think there's a real argument that the Jays are the best team in the AL. So kudos to Atkins and Shapiro's. I need flags before I give them full credit, but you know what? A playoff run sure will be nice.
Does there have to be some kind of a playoff run for Bo Bichette to get a long-term deal in Toronto? I mean, what's your thoughts on him? Is he sticking around? Is he leaving? Is it already signed, sealed? Because why haven't they negotiated? Blah blah blah, all that stuff, or behind closed doors that you and I might not be privy to the conversations. But what are they going to do with him? Because he's going to get some money somewhere. There's always not that Bichette's a bad player,
no,
but there's always someone willing to overpay no matter what, and looking for, he's maybe playing out of position with shortstop or whatever you want to do it. What's he going to do? Like, what's your thoughts?
He's a really interesting free agent this upcoming off season. He's probably the guy I'm most intrigued to see how this plays out, because you kind of laid it out really well there, Brent, in that this could go many, many different ways with Bo Bichette. And I think I do need to give a little bit of credit again to the front office in not just succumbing to the fan base's wishes and Bichette's wishes and just overpaying him. They did that with Guerrero, and I don't even think that Shapiro and Atkins were actually the ones pushing that. I think Ed Rogers got in there and was like, you know what? I don't care what you two think. We're locking up Vladdy. And you know what? All the praise in the world to him for doing that. It's great to have a guy we're going to have until 40, our very own superstar in Toronto. And I think that they needed that. And I think business-wise, it makes a lot of sense. And overpaying for a guy like that, you have your man. Now, Bo Bichette, he doesn't have the same sort of offensive ceiling. That said, leads the league in hits. He led the league in hits in 2021 and 2022. 2023, he got injured and just missed winning that one as well. 2024, played half the year and was injured. So I think you can almost strike 2024 from the record, or if I'm his agent, that's sure how I'm presenting it to teams this offseason. I think the Blue Jays are in this weird scenario where they've kind of approached Bichette with a contract. He didn't like it. They didn't like the rebuttal. And we're like, you know what? We'll let you go to free agency and we'll see what the market says. We have a deal in mind for you. And I think they are going to be active in the negotiations with Bo. I do think that the Blue Jays are going to be one of the teams he's talking to. But you know what? Honestly, Brent, there is a lot of desire for 27-year-old shortstops who hit like Bichette hits. And there's all sorts of arguments about his defense and where he should be playing long term. Is he actually a second baseman? Is the bat speed going to play 5 years down the road? Does his body hold up? All sorts of questions that surround so many long-term free agents when you're looking at big-time term like 5 to 10 years, which is what Bo's probably going to command. But it's going to be really interesting to see where things lay with Bichette, because if I'm Bo, I'm after the Xander Bogaerts, right? I want 10 years pushing 300 mil, and I personally think it's out there for him. I just don't know if it's in a Jays uniform.
I would say damned if they do, damned if they don't. And when it comes to Bichette, like if they get close to doing something this year and let him go, and then you do nothing next year, because the old hindsight 2020 managers aren't very forgiving.
Also, if he winds up in pinstripes.
Well, they need all kinds of guys at shortstop there with them. Jeez, awful. Volpe just they beat that kid up. I don't think Volpe should have been playing as much as he has been, and they brought him up too quick and keep throwing him out there to work through it, and he just can't. He just can't, because it's between his ears now, and I think they busted that kid up. But with Bichette, he's one, like, if you want to say Vladdy's the number one guy in your franchise, Bo's a 1A, maybe a 2 in your franchise, because they've been together for so long. So you kind of have to. But I think if you come close and don't win, but then you go out and find another arm or another this or another that, because and keep trying. So I think you kind of have to. If you don't win, people just. If you don't, then what do you do? Talk about let's just get on to the playoffs here. And you said Scherzer is probably your number one starter, and they want to play in that first round. Why not? Their pitching's good enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Throw guys out there. Matches up just as well with anybody in the American League. They kind of went out to LA a few weeks back, and it didn't fare so well. But the Dodgers, they're up and down and all around. Because they were 9 up at one point, and then they were behind by 2. Yeah. And now they're back up by 2. So just with the Padres there, and that's going to be battle right to the bitter end. But in the American League, is there any reason why this team couldn't find themselves in a World Series?
I really think that this is the best chance they've had in, hell, it could be decades. There could be plural to that. They need to figure out the back end of their bullpen. And this is not something new to many contending teams. And I'm just glad that things have kind of fallen apart in in August, and not in September, October. Jeff Hoffman has been serviceable. They definitely need more out of Sir Anthony Dominguez, who has been okay, but he walks a lot of guys, and so does Brendan Little, another high leverage guy they've been using in those tight situations. Great pitchers, but everyone feels cold right now. So they have been blowing more than their fair share of games. I mean, you look at this team's record over the last 25, they're 13-12, right? So they're not lighting the world on fire right now. They went 28-8 or something like that in the 30 before that, and that really kind of separated them. But they're doing what they have to do. They're winning series when they need to win them. And I think that September is going to be, if John Schneider can find 2 guys who get hot in that bullpen and can be lights out, I think he's going to ride them. And I think that you just, as a Jays fan, cross your fingers and hope that everyone else kind of falls into place.
Well, I'm if and when the Yankees get done in the first round, because that's just how they're going to match up with everybody. I'll be definitely rooting for the Jays. I think everybody, no, it doesn't matter, right across the country is going to. Let's talk a little bit of the last week or a week and a half ago now. The Little League Classic, Rob Manfred brought up realignment, and I like it. I don't agree. I'm a here and there kind of with the whole thing. But let's start off with the divisional realignment. Having the Jays move into division with Cleveland, that big rivalry with the Cincinnati Reds will pop out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then you bring back the rivalry from the '80s, which was great
with the Tigers,
with the Detroit Tigers. I think that's a great move with that. And what's your thoughts on realignment and expansion and the whole thing that Manfred brought up just over a week ago?
I'm still kind of at the point of I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, they constantly talk about how as soon as the A's and the Rays get settled and all of those question marks go away, we can look at expansion. And here they are talking about expansion. Both of those teams are still up in the air. I know they have finally broke ground in Las Vegas, and that seems to be coming to an end finally. But the Rays, supposedly they had a deal done with St. Petersburg to build another stadium, and that fell through. They're playing in a minor league stadium that is the spring training place for the Yankees, and they have no home for 2026 yet. I mean, they're trying to get a roof back on Tropicana, so I don't know how quick they're going to move expansion. Obviously, there's big money in it, and you want those billion-dollar expansion fees, and I think that they are eventually going to. I think that this is a little further down the road than maybe Manfred is making it out to be. I'd be shocked if it happens before 2030, but you know what? It would be really cool to see. It would be really fun if one of these Canadian markets could take a team. I know both
you got
Vancouver.
The Expos hat on there, so
I got the Expos hat. Both Vancouver and Montreal are very viable markets. I think they would work for Major League Baseball, and I know that they would like. Nashville's almost a foregone conclusion at this point, but it's the other market that's the real question mark. They've talked Portland, they've talked Montreal, even Vancouver's been in there, Charlotte. You know, like they have options. Where it goes, I'm not sure. Do they want another team in Canada? I don't know. But yeah, when it comes to the realignment, I think it's a very real possibility. How exactly it lines up, I'm not sure if it's going to exactly be Cincy, Detroit, Toronto, and
Cleveland.
Cleveland. You know, it makes sense geographically, but also they may stick with having these big markets altogether. You know, I also saw an alignment where it was Boston, Toronto, and the New Yorks. And that's interesting in itself, too, because talk about 4 of the top payrolls in baseball.
Yeah, I think this is just a case of look over here because the problems that are coming with the labor strife in a couple of years, and that's going to be a bad one. So I think that's just Manfred and the owner saying, look over here, so you're not looking over here at the wreck we're going to have, because that's going to be a bad one. I think that one's going to be one that's not going to be very forgiving for baseball fans. And I'm not going to say baseball's not going to survive, because it's survived over 150 years, so it'll find a way to get through. But just the thought of shutting down for a year wouldn't be good for baseball in general. I think it would be quite bad for the game. And then how do you convince people to throw money into expansion? And get one more question about that. If there is some labor strife, like how do these teams with the $300 and $400 million, and maybe that this is what the Dodgers did so well, knowing that there was some labor coming up, how do they decide like these payrolls are already north of 300 million?
Yeah.
If you got to get it under 240, how do you do it? Like what's the plan there? Like how does it, like, do you prorate these guys' salaries? Like maybe you know more about this than I do, but I think there needs to be a floor. I think everybody agrees on that for sure.
Yeah.
But how you get to how you all of a sudden, if a guy's making $50 million, you can say, well, can you go down to 35 because, well, this is how things work.
I really don't know how they're going to do this, and if there's going to be some sort of grandfathering in, and they're going to be given a time period that they have to get under a cap. I would honestly still be pretty shocked if a cap happens. I know that it's one of the big sticking points within the union is that they really do not
Not going to do
want
it.
it. Now, maybe there's a concession to be made if they allow players to go to free agency sooner, right? Like if guys have an opportunity to make the big bucks 2 or 3 years earlier than they do right now, because right now the way baseball is set up is you get drafted, you grind it out in the minor leagues for 3 to 5 years, you make the big leagues, your service time starts, you have 3 years arbitration, maybe 4 depending if they call you up at the right point or not. And then on top of that, you have 3 years of arbitration. So you're kind of locked into the same club for 6-7 years with your minor league time. By the time you're drafted at 18 to 21, you're 28 to 31 by the time you hit the open market, if you even get there. So maybe there's a concession to be made with a salary cap if the owners are like, "Okay, we'll let you go to free agency in 4 years instead of 6 or 7, but in return, there's a cap." Maybe there's something like that in the works. Honestly, I think it's going to be a long and very crappy labor dispute, and I think we're going to miss games.
And it's always the fans that suffer, right? Like it's
Yeah.
it's every sport that happens in hockey every 5 years it seems, and it's like it's millionaires or billionaires fighting millionaires, and
Yeah.
and it's the little guy in the totem pole that suffers. Prediction time, and I got 3 easy questions for you. Where do the Jays? What happens with the Jays? What are your hopes and dreams for Toronto Blue Jays 2025 edition?
I think the Blue Jays hold on to the division. I think that they do wind up finishing above Houston or Seattle, whoever is in that AL Central or West, I should say, sorry, and get the bye to the division series. I would love to see them go to the World Series, obviously. I mean, that's the dream. That's the goal. That's flags fly forever, however they got to do it to get there. I'm all for it. I want it more than anything. I mean, I'm getting to the age now where I'm like, I want one more before I die. So if this is the year, that would sure be great. As for the reality of it, I think that they really truly should be able to get to the American League Championship Series. I think there's no reason that they don't have the horses, that they don't have the talent, that they don't have the offensive lineup to do it. And I think that is where most of Jay's fan base should be, is we should be aiming high. We should be a top, look at what they're doing. This should be a top 4 team at the end of all things said and done, and hopefully a top 2.
I don't see why they can't. I really don't see why they couldn't be a World Series, go to the World Series and maybe pull one off, and you get a couple of like. And I think that's one of the one things. You go out and get Shane Bieber. You got one start out of him was against Miami, so let's not christen the next Cy Young by any means. But if he can give the Blue Jays 3 great starts, in the next month and a half, 2 months, then whatever you gave up to get him is well worth it.
Yeah.
And so if you can get 3 great starts at a certain point, or is there going to be a one that doesn't match up somewhere? Very well could be. But if you get 3 at the right time, you never know. And whatever deal that they went to get him is well worth it. It's going to be an exciting time for sure for fans across the country, and have to, people who are usually not watching, to bump them off my bar stool to say, hey man, I was been watching this all year long. You can't just jump in. But like I said, I don't mind bandwagon jumpers at all. Scott, we do something here at Spitz Stadium called 3 easy questions. You can't get them wrong. Court of public opinion, your opinion only. You ready to go?
Let's go.
Favorite Blue Jay of all time?
John Olerud.
That's just about as close to right as you can be, because I did not expect that at all. John Olerud I didn't think that, but no, he was. Remember when he was flirting with 400?
I'm aging as a kid,
here,
he was my favorite. He just played baseball the right way, and I love that he had his little hard helmet on all the time, and just the fact that he was a pitcher in college and just had to put that aside. He's a guy who probably could have been a 2-way player. I just loved Johnny O.
Yeah. Number 2, how many loony dogs could you take down those Schneider's hot dogs at the Rogers Center on a Tuesday night?
My record's 5. I'm not a I'm not a heavyweight, I guess.
That's still a lot.
Hey, come on, 5 hot dogs and 5 beers. That's you
That's
leave full.
Me and the wife, we were going to try the Coney Island. We were watching the hot dog eating contest one July 4th, and I could take down 10. No, I think I got to about 4.5, and I was like, oh no, I'm good. And last but not least, why do you hate the New York Yankees so much, Scott?
There's a lot of reasons, but I gotta go. I gotta go with the center of baseball of it all, and how everything when it comes to the media and their fan base is all tailored to them, and yet the fan base still sometimes feels slighted. And maybe this is the little brother in me. I know the Toronto Blue Jays just play second fiddle to them, and being a Canadian market, probably don't get the national coverage when it comes to the US that I would like. And I'm fine with that. I'm old now, Brent. I'm 43. I've come to terms with it. It's fine, but it still rubs me the wrong way. And there's something about those pinstripes, for the same reason that it inspires love by Yankees fans, and there's like that magic to it. I just gets me angry. I just see pinstripes and I'm like, no, not for me.
Me too lately, Scott. Me too. I've had the same feeling lately. I know it's definitely a hate relationship right now with that ball club. Anyway, Scott, this is a lot of fun. It took us to figure out time zones, a little technology.
Yeah,
we got it
and
all
apologies.
a day late and $1 short, but we made her through. Thank you very much for doing this once again. Tell everybody about one of the best Blue Jays podcasts out there, the Walk Off Podcast.
Absolutely. I do the Walk Off Podcast every single week. So our flagship show is on Fridays. You can see that on wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. You can also watch the Mailbag every single Tuesday. And then I also run a live Blue Jays show in Toronto. It's called Baseball Town. The next one is September 4th. It's at Left Field Brewing in Liberty Village. We got some big time guests, Jonah Birnbaum from The Score, Chris Black from Sportsnet, and then Rob Wong from the Toronto Sun. We have a special guest as well. Eventbrite is where you're going to find that. Type in Baseball Town and away you go. If you use the code BASEBALL, you save yourself $5. You get in for $20.
There you go. No, that would be a lot of fun if I was actually. I might find my way out there.
That's right.
Always a way. My wife's out in Greece right now, so she wouldn't know the difference. So I just show up. She's there for 3 weeks. Where are you? I don't know. Don't worry about it. None of your business. She's in bed by the time that gets going. So
that's right.
Scott, once again, thank you for doing this. And you know what? Why not? Go Jays, go! They have a shot for sure.
Always love talking ball with you, Brent. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for tuning into the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer of sports talk and a whole lot more, brought to you by SeatGeek. Go to bellyupsports.com for the best of sports articles and podcasts. Subscribe to the YouTube channel or wherever it is you get your podcast. Let's get